Winterfell was colder than usual. The winds carried a warning, but few were listening. Eddard Stark Ned, as his friends once called him, stood in the godswood, eyes closed, feeling the chill not just on his skin, but in his bones. Something wasn't right in the north, and he could feel it in his soul. Samwell Tarly, who had arrived from Castle Black with old scrolls in a heavy bag, approached Ned quietly. Sam's face was pale, not just from the cold, but from fear. He had found something important in the records of the Night's Watch. "Lord Stark," he said nervously, "I think I've found a pattern in the White Walker's movements." Ned opened his eyes slowly. "Speak." Sam explained that White Walkers didn't just appear randomly. Every time they came, it followed a cycle, and that cycle was connected to the birth of certain children in the North, children with abilities, like Bran. Sam also mentioned that the legends he found spoke of a mark left on chosen ones. That mark could allow the White Walkers to track them, or even turn them. Bran Stark, now able to walk again through the magic he barely understood, had been having visions. In them, he saw the past, and sometimes even glimpses of the future. One vision kept repeating a baby taken by White Walkers, eyes turning blue, and a strange spiral symbol in the snow. Together, the three of them, Ned, Sam, and Bran, sat in the great hall late into the night. Bran told them everything about his visions, even the terrifying one where the wall fell. Sam showed the scrolls with old Valyrian text that mentioned the first sacrifice and the betrayal of the North. And Ned listened, thinking not as a lord, but as a father. "What if the Night King was not just a creature?" Ned said finally, "but someone who was once one of us?" They all went silent. Bran suddenly gasped, his eyes wide. "He was a Stark." Sam dropped the scroll he was holding. "What?" "In one of my visions," Bran whispered, "I saw the children of the forest stabbing a man tied to a tree. They turned him into the Night King, and he had our blood. He wore the Stark sigil." Ned felt a heavy weight on his heart. "Then the North's blood is tied to this curse." This changed everything. They realized the White Walkers weren't just mindless killers. They were following something, some ancient plan connected to the bloodline of the first men. And that meant the Starks might hold the key to stopping them, or maybe, unknowingly, had kept the threat alive for centuries. They had to act fast. But telling the world this truth would only bring chaos. Who would believe that the Night King was once a Stark, that a child with visions held the answers, or that Sam, a timid boy from the Watch, had uncovered secrets buried for thousands of years? Ned decided they would begin their search for more clues at the crypts beneath Winterfell. If the Night King was once a Stark, maybe the old kings knew something, and maybe, just maybe, one of them had left a message for the future. They entered the cold crypts, torches in hand. As they walked deeper, Bran stopped suddenly. "He's been here before," he whispered. "Who?" Ned asked. "The Night King," Bran replied. "He came here once, looking for something, or someone." A sudden gust of icy wind blew through the crypt. The torches flickered, shadows dancing along the stone walls. And from the silence, Bran pointed to an old tomb, one that hadn't been opened in hundreds of years. "This one," he said. "There's something inside. Something we're meant to find." Ned stepped forward slowly. He placed his hand on the stone lid, his heart beating fast. "Then let's open it," he said. A cold dread filled the room. They were about to uncover a truth that had been buried for centuries, and the moment they did, nothing in the North would ever be the same again. With heavy effort, Ned and Sam pushed the stone lid of the tomb. The grinding echo filled the crypt like a scream. Inside wasn't just bones. Wrapped in old, rotted furs was a sealed wooden box blackened with age, marked with a spiral symbol Bran had seen in his visions. Sam reached for it, hesitating. "This symbol, it's the same as the one the White Walkers leave behind. It's not just decoration. It's a warning." Ned gave him a look. Then let's see what they were warning us about. Inside the box were scrolls, some written in the ancient language of the first men, others in Valyrian. But one scroll was written in the common tongue, shaky but readable. Sam held it up and read it aloud. To the blood of the North. I was the first. They took me. They made me something else. But in death, I remembered. My bloodline cursed this land. The gift must not return. End the line, or the darkness will walk again. Bran went pale. He was the first White Walker, and he was a Stark. He remembered who he was. After death, Sam's hands trembled. End the line. What does that mean? Ned stepped back, cold crawling up his spine. He's saying the White Walkers will keep returning as long as the Stark bloodline survives. That we are the key. Bran suddenly clutched his head, falling to his knees. His eyes turned white as he was pulled into a vision. Ned and Sam rushed to him, but couldn't reach him. In the vision, Bran stood in the middle of a snowy forest. The Night King stood in front of him, silent. Behind him were thousands of whites, all still. You've seen the truth, the Night King said in a deep, icy voice. You know now. This ends with your blood, one way or another. Bran gasped and woke up. He's coming, he said, shivering violently. He knows we found the tomb. He's seen through me. He's connected to me. That's how he tracked us. That's why he didn't kill me before. He's waiting. Sam backed away, panicking. So, if Bran dies, does the connection break? No, Bran said weakly. It's more than that. He needs me alive, for now. But he wants to take me, turn me like he was turned. He wants the Stark name to return to him fully. A complete circle. Ned's face was unreadable, but inside, his heart was breaking. Could he protect his son? If the world demanded his blood? Outside the crypt, direwolves howled. The wind had picked up. Ravens flew wildly across the sky, heading south. Something had shifted in the world. Something ancient had woken up fully. They went to the Maester's Tower, hoping to find more records. Sam dug through books, with Bran guiding him through visions. And finally, they found it one final clue in a book written in Old Tongue. Sam read aloud, translating slowly. Only fire mixed with the blood of the source can end the night's return. The fire of dragons. The blood of the first. Bran looked up at Ned. That means a Stark must die in dragon fire. A true-born Stark, to break the curse fully. Ned said nothing, but Sam stepped forward. We need Daenerys. Her dragons, and a Stark willing to die. Or this never ends. Outside, a raven landed at the window. Its eyes glowed blue for just a moment, then turned black again. It dropped a torn piece of skin, marked with a spiral. A message. He's not just watching, Bran whispered. He's listening. Ned finally spoke, voice low but steady. We ride for Dragonstone. But they all knew. They were not just racing against time. They were racing against fate, and fate was cruel. The journey to Dragonstone was quiet, but the silence carried weight, like a funeral march. Ned, Bran, and Sam rode with a small escort of trusted men. The north was uneasy, skies darker than usual, and strange reports came from villages they passed. Entire herds frozen in place, wild animals lying dead without wounds, and old men whispering of blue-eyed ghosts walking the woods again. Bran was changing. Each day his visions grew more frequent, more painful. He spoke less, and when he did, it was never fully clear if it was him or something else speaking through him. One night, as they camped under a dead weirwood, Bran sat up with a jolt. His eyes were bleeding. He's near, Bran whispered, shaking. He's in the land. He's walking south. Sam rushed to him, pressing cloth to Bran's eyes. You shouldn't try to see him. It's killing you. I have to, Bran said through clenched teeth. He's looking for the fire. He knows what we know. He'll try to reach the dragons before we do. Ned's mind was in war. A battle with no swords-only choices. If the prophecy was true, one of his children had to die in dragonfire. Could he ever let that happen? Could he sacrifice Bran ... or Jon? But Jon was far away in the south, still fighting Cersei's madness, trying to bring peace to the realm. He had no idea the real war was already here. When they reached Dragonstone, Daenerys was waiting. Word of their journey had reached her through her own spies, and she was not happy to see Ned Stark. The last time a Stark had come to King's Landing, it ended in betrayal and blood. But Sam brought the scrolls, and Bran brought visions Daenerys could no longer deny. She watched silently as Bran described the ancient Stark who became the Night King. Her hands trembled as she read the words written centuries ago, words warning that her dragons were the only way to end the curse. "This is madness," she said softly. "Kill a Stark with dragonfire? Burn one of you alive? How is that salvation?" Sam stepped forward, gentle but firm. "If we don't, this curse won't end. You'll keep fighting the dead every few generations. And one day they'll win." She looked at Bran. "And you? You'd let yourself be burned alive?" Bran's answer was simple. "If I don't, he'll turn me. Then there will be no hope." Daenerys turned to Ned, eyes narrowing. "And you? Will you let your son die just to protect the legend?" Ned looked back at her with the heavy stare of a man who'd buried too many already. "I lost my sister to a war no one remembers the truth of. I lied my whole life to protect her son. I've killed to keep secrets. But this ... this isn't a secret. This is the end of the world. If my family's blood must burn to stop it, then so be it." They stood in silence. And then a voice broke through. "You won't burn, Bran." Everyone turned. Jon Snow stood in the doorway, dust-covered, tired, but alive, and with him, Ghost limping by his side. "I rode day and night from King's Landing. I had a feeling something was wrong." Bran looked at him with those ancient eyes. "You were always meant to be here, Jon." Jon looked to Sam, who nodded with tears in his eyes. "The Night King was a Stark," Sam said. "This curse is in your blood, too. Maybe stronger than anyone else's." Jon turned to Daenerys, then to Ned, whose face was cracked with guilt and sorrow. "I'm not a boy anymore," Jon said. "If fire ends this curse, then let it be me." "No." Ned stepped forward. "I won't let you." But Jon was calm. "You swore to protect the realm." "So did I. Maybe this is what that oath truly meant."
Daenerys hesitated, her eyes filled with tears. She still loved Jon somewhere in her broken heart. "You'd burn ... willingly." "I'd rather burn than live knowing I did nothing to stop the end of the world." Outside, the dragons roared restless, as if sensing what was coming. And far away in the north, the ground cracked beneath the snow. The Night King had begun his final march. The air on Dragonstone grew colder, unnaturally so. The sea that once roared angrily around the black cliffs now lay eerily still, frozen in sections, even though winter hadn't reached the southern shores yet. The Night King was moving, and his power was growing. Jon stood near the dragons, staring at Dragon and Rhaegal. He could feel something between them, old connection, not just of blood, but of fate. Bran had told him once that dragonfire could kill a White Walker, but whether it could end a curse as old as the first men, no one knew for sure. Ned paced the war room, restless. He couldn't look Jon in the eye. The truth was, choking him Jon wasn't just any Stark. He was Lyanna's son, his sister's last gift. How could he stand by while the world asked him to burn the boy he raised like his own? Sam stood at the painted table, organizing the scrolls again, rereading them like they'd magically change. "We need more proof," he muttered. "There has to be something else. Another way." "There's no other way," Bran said quietly from the shadows. "The fire must touch the blood that carries both Stark and Targaryen. That's what the curse is tied to." Daenerys, listening from the balcony, said nothing. Her heart was in pieces torn between duty and love, again. First Khal Drogo, then her child, then Ser Jorah, and now ... Jon. Was her destiny always meant to be paved with fire and loss? That night, Jon sat alone by the shoreline, Ghost resting at his side, quiet and alert. The wind carried snow, even here. His breath fogged in front of him. Ned approached slowly. "I should have told you everything sooner," Ned said, voice rough like gravel. "You were never a bastard. You were born with more claim than any of us. Lyanna died to protect you. And I've lied to everyone to keep that promise." Jon didn't speak. He stared out at the sea. "I raised you like my own," Ned went on, "but I never thought the world would ask this of you." Jon finally turned his head. Maybe it was always going to end like this. Maybe all of it Winterfell the Wall, even the wars, was just the road leading here. You have a choice. Jon shook his head. "No, I don't. Not if I want to be who I claim to be." Silence settled again. Then Bran's voice rang from behind them. "You should do it soon. He's only 2 days away." Jon stood. "Then we do it tomorrow, at sunrise." Sam broke down at those words. "There has to be another way," he shouted, tears flowing freely. "This isn't fair." "No," Jon said softly, "but it's necessary." Daenerys spent that night walking the cliffs, watching the dragons sleep. She whispered to Dragoon, "You have to listen to me. Just this once. If I tell you to burn someone, don't wait." Her voice broke, but Dragon only grumbled in his sleep, smoke curling from his nostrils. As the sun began to rise, all of Dragonstone gathered at the cliff where the old Valyrian fires once burned bright. The air was dead still. Bran, Sam, Ned, Daenerys, and Jon stood in a circle, the wind howling low like a warning. Jon removed his cloak, his breath fogged as he stepped forward. "Do it quickly," he said. Daenerys' hand trembled as she raised it. "Dracarys," she whispered. But nothing happened. Dragon roared, then turned his head away. Everyone froze. "What's happening?" Sam cried. Bran's eyes rolled back. "No," he gasped. "It's not him. Jon ... He's not the one. He carries the blood, but not the wound." Ned turned sharply. "What do you mean?" Bran's voice came from somewhere deeper now, the one who's been touched, the one who's marked, and then everyone turned slowly to Bran. He smiled, bitterly. "It's me." Far across the north, the Night King stopped walking and smiled back. Silence swallowed the cliffs of Dragonstone. No one moved. Even the dragons went still, sensing something ancient, something wrong. Bran's words echoed in the icy air. "It's me." Sam stumbled back, whispering, "No." No, you said John Bran's face was calm, but his eyes, something behind them flickered. John carries the blood, yes, but I carry the mark. Ned's voice cracked, rough with fear. What mark? Bran turned his gaze to him. The night I touched the weirwood in the cave, the Night King touched me back, left his mark on my skin. It never left. That's why he's always known where I am. That's why the wall fell. I let him in. Daenerys stepped back, stunned. You brought the wall down. I didn't know then, Bran said softly, but I see now. The curse chose me. I'm the final piece he needs. The last branch of the ancient bloodline. The Stark who became the bridge between the living and the dead. Sam fell to his knees, holding his head. This is worse than we thought. Jon, still frozen in place, stared at Bran. Then the fire wasn't meant for me. Bran nodded. It was always meant for me. I've seen the end, in dreams and visions. But there's one chance, one single moment where we can stop it. I have to die, in Dragonfire, but not here, not yet. Ned looked desperate now. What are you saying, Bran? Bran's voice was calm, to calm. He's coming for me. If I die now, the curse remains. The magic stays alive. But if he dies with me at the exact moment I burn, then it ends. For good. Jon stepped forward. Then we make him come to us. No, Bran replied, we go to him. Everyone stared in disbelief. Sam whispered, you want to walk into the north. While he marches here. Bran gave the smallest nod. He'll never expect it. He's waiting to take me. But if we reach the heart tree in the haunted forest, the one where he was created, the fire of dragons can destroy us both at the source. Daenerys swallowed hard. That's suicide. It's the only way, Bran said. I've seen everything else. This is the only timeline where he doesn't win. Ned's fists clenched. You're my son. Bran's eyes softened. I was. Now I'm something else. I don't even dream like a human anymore. Jon turned to Daenerys. Will your dragons fly north again? She hesitated, then nodded. If it means ending this, yes. And so a plan was forged. Not a battle, not a war, but a mission. One dragon, one cursed boy, one ancient place. And the end of everything, waiting in the cold. That same night, Bran sat alone by the fire, his face lit orange by the flames. Ned came and sat beside him. I failed you, all of you, Ned said, voice heavy. I tried to protect this family, but I never knew this curse lived in our blood. You didn't fail, Bran whispered. You kept us alive long enough to reach this moment. That's all fate ever needed. Ned reached over and held Bran's hand like he was a little boy again. Let me ride with you. If I can't stop this, at least let me stand with you at the end. Bran nodded. You may be the last Stark who walks away from it. Later that night, Sam found an old map from Mester Eamon's collection. He marked a path straight to the heart tree in the far north beyond the wall, beyond the frost-frozen rivers, near the ruins where the Night King was born. Jon looked over the map. If we ride the dragon fast and land here, he pointed, we can reach the tree before he sees us. But Bran shook his head. He already sees us. The torches flickered violently. And thousands of miles away, in the land of eternal snow, the Night King stopped walking. He turned his head east, and smiled, because now he knew where the end would begin. The dragon soared over the ghostly white landscape, its wings beating against winds that howled like lost souls. Snow whipped across the sky like knives, stinging every inch of exposed skin. Upon Drogon's back sat Bran, unmoving, his eyes pale and distant, as if he wasn't there at all. Jon sat behind him, hands clenched around the saddle straps, guiding the beast with quiet urgency. Ned followed on horseback below, with a small group of loyal ridersmen who had chosen to ride beyond the end of the world to see it saved. Sam was among them, wrapped in every fur he could find, his hands frozen around a leather scroll. Daenerys had stayed behind at Dragonstone, her face a storm of emotion when she let the dragon fly away. She couldn't bring herself to watch the man she loved and the boy who might end everything vanish into the white. The journey took days. They passed the shattered wall, where ice still steamed from the Night King's magic. Abandoned watchtowers, torn banners, frozen corpses stuck in place like statues of warning. The land wasn't just cold, it was dead. No animals, no birds, no life, just wind and snow. Then, one night, Bran stirred from his trance. "He knows," he whispered. "He's already there." Jon leaned in. At the tree, Bran nodded slowly, waiting for me like he always has. He sees through the mark, through me. Jon gritted his teeth. Then we're close. By the 5th day, they reached it, the heart tree, the original one, ancient, twisted, and wide as a castle tower, its bark white as bone, and its mouth-shaped face crying blood-red sap into the snow. This was the place where the children of the forest had stabbed a man with dragonglass and turned him into the first White Walker.
Bran stepped down from the dragon and walked forward without help. His legs, once crippled, now moved like something was guiding them. He stood before the tree and placed his hand on it. "This is the end," he said softly, "or the beginning. Maybe both." Ned approached from behind. "He's close, isn't he?" Bran looked up to the sky. "He's here." The ground trembled. The snow stopped falling. The wind went silent. And then the ice cracked. From every direction they came. Thousands of dead things, marching slowly, quietly. Their eyes glowed blue like frozen fire. At the center of them, riding a dead horse wrapped in chains of ice, was the Night King. He looked no different than before, tall, crowned with icy horns, skin pale and dry like ancient snow. But his eyes burned straight into Bran. Jon unsheathed Longclaw. "Dragon!" he shouted. The dragon roared and took flight, circling overhead. But the Night King raised his hand. Chains hidden beneath the snow snapped upward, 3 of them, pulled by ice-covered giants. They slammed into Drogon's wings, dragging him down, roaring as spears of ice shot through the air. "Jon, go!" Ned shouted. "Take Bran to the tree." But Bran didn't move. His voice was calm as always. "He doesn't want to kill me. He wants to finish the ritual. To take me. Then he becomes everything. Winter, death, time itself." Sam clutched the scroll. "Then we do it now. while he's distracted. Jon looked at Bran. Are you ready? Bran looked back once, gave a faint smile. I was born for this. Jon turned to Drogon, who had broken free of the chains, fire building in his throat. Do it, Bran whispered, before he touches me. But just as Jon was about to give the command, the Night King raised one hand, and Bran's body froze in place. Limbs stiff like ice had crawled through his veins. His eyes went wide. Jon screamed, now! Drogon breathed. Fire roared across the snow, across Bran, across the heart tree. The flames lit the sky like a second sun. And the Night King stepped into them, silent, walking forward, his body beginning to crack, his face twisting but still walking. Then something strange happened. The heart tree began to scream. Its voice wasn't like anything human. It was the sound of wood tearing, ice shattering, and blood boiling all at once. The entire forest shook as if the world itself was crying out. Inside the flames, Bran and the Night King locked eyes one final time. And then the Night King shattered like glass, falling into 1,000 burning shards. Bran's body slumped forward, lifeless, fire still curling around him. Jon dropped to his knees. Ned turned his face away. The dead army collapsed where they stood, bones breaking, snow rising in clouds around their falling corpses. And then silence again. Only the heart tree remained, its mouth closed, its tears dried. The curse was broken. But the cost had been paid. Snow fell gently, now not the cruel, biting kind that signaled death, but the soft kind that whispered peace. The sky had shifted, no longer gray and angry, but a cold, quiet blue. The war was over. The Night King was gone. But the silence that followed was heavy with grief. Jon stood in front of the scorched remains of the heart tree. The fire had died, but its ashes still glowed faintly, as if the old magic was finally laid to rest. Bran's body lay at its roots, untouched by rot or ruin. His face was calm, peaceful almost, as if he had simply fallen asleep. Drogon stood nearby, low growls rumbling in his throat, eyes locked on Bran. He didn't understand death the way humans did, but he understood loss. And he mourned. Sam knelt beside Bran, clutching the torn scrolls to his chest. He knew, Sam whispered. He knew he wasn't going to make it. He planned every step, even his death. Ned sat quietly on a rock, staring into the distance. He looked older now, worn down by the truth, the journey, and the weight of survival. He saved the world, he murmured, and none of them down south will ever know it. Jon didn't respond. He was lost in a sea of guilt and rage. He had brought Bran here. He had agreed to the plan. He had watched his brother burn. But somewhere deep inside, something told him Bran hadn't truly died. Not all of him. As the others gathered their things to leave, Jon stayed behind. He knelt by Bran's body and placed a hand on his chest. I'm sorry, he whispered, for not protecting you, for not stopping it sooner. A sudden gust of wind blew through the trees. A single red leaf drifted down and landed on Bran's forehead. Jon looked up, and for just a heartbeat, he saw it. A raven, sitting silently on a branch above the tree, watching him. Its eyes were not blue. They were Bran's. Jon's breath caught in his throat. The raven tilted its head once, then flew off into the sky, joining a flock that had silently gathered above. Sam saw it too. He's not gone, he said quietly. The three-eyed raven never really dies. He just changes form. Jon nodded slowly, a flicker of peace passing through him. As they prepared Bran's body for burial, Drogon roared once loud and long. The sound echoed across the north, as if marking the end of something great. Then he leapt into the air, rising with the storm, his massive wings beating against the last winds of winter. They buried Bran beneath the heart tree, the oldest one in the world, where his blood had mixed with the flames and ended a curse that haunted humanity for thousands of years. Ned placed Bran's direwolf pendant on the grave, his hand lingering. "You were more than we deserved," he said. When they returned to Winterfell, it was a different north. The snow no longer bit with death, and the stars above no longer looked like warnings. Word of what happened spread, though no one believed it fully. Some called it legend. Some said it was lies. Others swore they saw the sky glow that night, and the wind stopped dead in its tracks. Jon left Winterfell shortly after. He could no longer be a king or a brother, not after what he'd witnessed. He rode alone into the far north, past the wall, where the world was wild and untouched. Sam returned to the citadel, bringing with him the scrolls and truths no maester had ever dared to write. He began to pen a book, The Winter Curse, the truth of the Night King. Most laughed at him. A few listened. But the truth was written now, and that was enough. Ned stayed. He rebuilt, reclaimed his place not as lord, but as protector of the North's legacy. Every year, on the same day Bran had died, he would sit beneath Winterfell's heart tree and leave a single raven feather there. And far beyond, in the lands of eternal snow, a raven with deep brown eyes watched the world, waiting, watching, not as a threat, but as a guardian. Bran Stark was gone, but something of him remained in the wind, the trees, the ravens. And the North would never forget. Winter had come, and winter had been defeated, but the memory of it would last forever.